women suffer in such conflicts. So we hope that we can find a permanent and lasting solution. And whether that is a one state, two state solution, there has to be a permanent solution so that we can move on and all of us can treasure the holy city of Jerusalem in its peaceful state. Because right now, everybody who wanted to visit the holy city obviously is not going to be able to go. The pilgrims that continuously go there. So maybe Eva Barra will make a comment, and then especially when she touched on a very important point which I'd like her to put across, on terrorism vis-a-vis Islam. And then His Excellency will speak, and then we can end it here. Okay, Kenya basically stays neutral, all right? But in the sense that, okay, Kenya stands neutral, we don't take sides, all right? But at the end of the day, Kenya condemns violence, Kenya condemns terrorism. We have also been casualties of terrorism as a country. So there is no way that we will stand when we see terror being meted on any of our various partners. So the stand of the government or the country is something that only the state can put it out. But we sit on the National Security, the UN Security Council, and I believe we condemn all manner of violence as a country.
Thank you very much. My name is Eve Obar. Yes, I'm the treasurer of the Friendship. And first and foremost, I want to state that we as a country, or even within the East African region, we have been victims or casualties of terrorism attack. And we know the devastating effect of terrorism. I want now at this point also to appreciate the role that the Israelis have played in averting some of these terrorism attacks across the world. So when we see in the social media in particular, or in the media, we see a narrative playing out that this could be a religious war, then we get very, very concerned. And I want to state that terrorism is not a religious war. It's nothing against the Muslims. We have coexisted in the world, I want to say in the world, with the Muslim brothers, even here in Kenya. And there is no way that this turns out to appear to be a Muslim attack. And therefore, I want to condemn the attack and the suffering of the innocent civilians who we've seen them in the media, and we want this to stop. We are happy when the ambassador clearly told us that there is a ceasefire that has been agreed between the two countries, and we want a lasting solution to this. We have very sentimental with Jerusalem, particularly the Christians, and that when we look at the history of the nations. So we are happy, Ambassador, that there has been a ceasefire, and clearly state that it is not a religious war. It is a terrorism attack, and we want to look at it as such and appreciate the relationship that we have had with them and the fight that they've had against terrorism in the whole world. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Has this war affected the economic businesses or human rights in this friendship relationship? Has it affected any?
Money. This is a new group. The friendship is a new group that we have started. It started during the Corona times, and of course you know that it has been very difficult to move or even have engagements because of the Corona. But it's not about money, it's about how we can support each other. The technology from Israel and what we can benefit from in our various constituencies. And that's what it is, because we know how far or what they've been able to do as a country in terms of technology, be it agriculture, be it security, be it in any of the areas. We've seen it, and it's not new to us. So that's what we are pursuing. It's not money as such. Thank you.
Yes, thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you, Honorable Passaris. Thank you, Treasurer. of this Kenya-Israel Parliamentarian Friendship Group. This was very heartwarming to receive the delegation headed by the Honorable Passaris. Some of the members have joined us by the technology of Zoom on these circumstances of COVID-19. But again, I just want to say how heartwarming it was for me to accept the delegation here at our embassy. The solidarity that the Kenya-Israel Parliamentarian Friendship Group has expressed today for the people of Israel in these very difficult times that we have just passed means a lot to us. The friendship of this group, the friendship of Kenya, is very important for us. We do not take that for granted, and I think expressing this friendship in these difficult days was very, very meaningful for us. So I want to first and foremost thank the parliamentarian group that came today to this embassy to express this solidarity. We had a very open discussion inside, and I could assure you some tough questions were asked. And I think among friends and among families, you're more than entitled to ask tough questions. But I think it gave me the opportunity to give the description of what is happening in our part of the world in a manner that I think is more close to what truly happens. And unfortunately, one who sometimes follow only the media does not get the full picture and the perspective of what's truly happening in Israel. In the last 11 days, the Israeli civilians and the Israeli people were under a deliberate attack that was initiated by a terrorist group, Hamas, and other terrorist groups that control the Gaza Strip. This was a deliberate campaign as part of a very clear objective of this terrorist group that in their charter are very clear in their goal of seeing Israel being wiped off the map. This is, and everyone has to recognize it, this was the main reason for another wave of terrorism that was waged by this terrorist group. There was a more immediate trigger for this terrorist group to wage this wave in these specific times, and that has to do more to the internal Palestinian politics. The Hamas as a terrorist group wants to portray itself as the speaker of the Palestinian people on the account of the Palestinian Authority. So for them, during the holy month of Ramadan, during some of the Palestinians call the Nakba Day, for the Hamas it was a good opportunity to trigger another wave of terrorism against Israeli civilians. More than 4,400 missiles and rockets were fired against Israeli civilians in the last 11 days. They've caused a lot of damage. 13 people were dead and many others were injured. This is, as I said, a deliberate action by the terrorist organization to hit Israeli civilians. I do not know of any other government. I do not know of any other situation in the world where every responsible government wouldn't have acted as usual. And what we have done in the last 11 days was to exercise our very basic right for self-defense, to defend our own citizens. And we have done it in a manner that was that we took very much into consideration how, on the one hand, we attack military targets of this terrorist group, and on the other hand, doing it in a manner that minimizes as much as possible the collateral damage. And what I think our friends in Kenya should understand, the Hamas is waging and is involved in two war crimes. The first being attacking Israeli civilians, but they're also, the other crime is that they're doing it from within dense populated areas in Gaza. The Hamas are housing their command and control centers. They're housing and putting their weapons, sheltering their weapons underneath hospitals, mosques, underneath residential areas. They're doing it deliberately. They're doing it deliberately because they understand that any action that will be taken by the Israeli Defense Forces will be done in a very populated area. But as I said, I think in the last few years we have managed to gain enough experience to utilize our technologies to exercise our right for self-defense, but again doing it in a manner that minimizes any collateral damage that might occur on the other side. And I think Honorable Passaris, you have mentioned that. I think one of the reasons where we have seen damage also being minimized on the Israel side is because, thank God, we have managed to develop one of the most sophisticated systems, the Iron Dome, that was able to intercept the missiles and rockets coming from Gaza. So I think we've taken all measures in order to try and restrain the situation on the ground, to try and deflame the situation on the ground, to try and de-escalate the situation on the ground. And as I said, this is what we've been engaged in the last 11 days. Last night, a ceasefire was called upon. I hope this brings us to a situation where the situation on the ground will be de-escalated. We have no illusions that the Hamas, as a terrorist group, is changing its goals. We have no illusion that they might want to utilize this ceasefire to again repair all the damages and try to empower themselves again. So we are aware that it might be just it's just a matter of time until they decide to be engaged in another wave war against Israeli civilians. So I think in that respect, it's very important, very crucial that the international community and our friends in Kenya would be very clear, as the government of Kenya has been, and I want to appreciate the government of Kenya, that was very clearly condemned the Hamas specifically as a terrorist organization attacking Israeli civilians, clarifying that there is no justification whatsoever, there could be no justification whatsoever for attacking civilians. So we appreciate the position of Kenya in that respect. And I think condemnation of this terrorist organization should continue, and we should find ways to join forces, all the free world, against these terrorist organizations in order to overcome these terrorist organizations. They have an impact also on Kenya, as the honorable members here have mentioned. Kenya also suffers from terrorist activities and from insurgencies. The only way to fight back is by making sure that the free world is united against this phenomenon. And I think Israel has proven in the past and will continue to prove in the future that we are a bold friend of Kenya in that respect, and of course in other fields of cooperation between our two countries.
Okay. I'm Hemba from Ebro TV. Just a concern.
Sorry, can you speak out? Speak loud.
I'm Hemba from Ebro TV. Just a concern. Maybe before a ceasefire that was actually brokered by the Egyptian government, where will this war actually translate to, considering the fact that some countries were already demonstrating? You saw even some parts in the country, Kenya, in Mombasa, they were actually holding demonstrations against the war. Where would this actually translate to if there was no ceasefire?
I'm not sure I understood the question. Could you repeat again?
Where will this translate to if at all we had no ceasefire, this war?
Well, we hope to have a ceasefire, but we hope to have a long ceasefire. And I think if we want to truly ensure that this ceasefire is not going just to be used by the terrorist organization to re-empower itself, or to produce new missiles, to just find ways to repair the damages that occurred after the Israeli activity against their military targets. If this will be the case, then it's only a matter of time until we have another round of terrorism and that would attack Israeli civilians. But if, on the other hand, we have a very bold international community that is united against the terrorist organizations, if we have a Palestinian authorities that is able to regain control over the Gaza Strip, if we have a very clear message that no one will in any way be perceived as giving legitimacy to terrorism, I think we have a bigger chances that we could channel our energy to find a lasting solution between us and our neighbors, the Palestinians. And I want to again emphasize, we have no war with the Palestinians. This 11 days was not a war of Jews against Muslims, God forbid, but not a war of Israelis against Palestinians. This was an exercise of a responsible government of self-defense when the civilians are being attacked against a terrorist organization. This has to be understood. In any way, any attempt to try and portray what happened in the last 11 days in a different manner, I think would be a betrayal for the truth.
Mheshimiwa Passaris, do you think maybe Kenya was also to be affected, because I understand Kenya also relies so heavily to the Israeli government? Do you feel that we were also to be affected in this kind of a war?
I mean, Israel is a very big partner for Kenya, and one of the agendas of the president is food security, and we know that Israel was amongst the countries that we were looking at to improve our food security, and they've got programs and projects that they're doing in the country. Of course, if their country is thrown into full-blown war, it will delay things. All right, so we are happy for the ceasefire. We're hoping to get back on track. As the Kenya-Israel Friendship Group, we have so many plans ahead in terms of working with Israel, both in terms of legislation and improving the quality of our parliament as well, and also in terms of agriculture, livestock, technology. So education, there's so many areas that we want to partner together and learn from each other and improve relations, trade relations between the two countries. So any war, whether here or there, would delay and derail any activity that is for economic empowerment. So we're happy about the ceasefire, and we pray that this ceasefire will be able to bring the Palestinian leadership, and not the terrorist group, the Palestinian leadership and the Israeli leadership on the table to discuss a lasting solution for peace in the Middle East.
Thank you. Thank you very much.